everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, before we get started, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette and our custom brushes for the patterns on the stockings. So that is all linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. For the color palette, just double tap the file that downloads and the color palette will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. And then for the brushes, all you need to do is open up your brush library, hit the plus icon in the top right, and import the brushes that you downloaded so that you can use them later on in the video. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen here so that you can use those to get your canvas set up. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. This is the color palette that we will be using in the video today. Throughout the video, you might see a couple extra colors on the top here that we end up not using, so I took them out. So this is what your color palette should look like, so don't worry if you see a couple other colors as the video goes on. You will be all set with these. So we are just going to jump right into it. We are going to first set the background color, and that's going to be on the layer menu. Open that up, click this background color layer, and set it to the first color on the first row of the color palette. And then we are first going to make our wallpaper design, and this is actually not one of the custom brushes. This is a brush right within Procreate already, this kind of vintage wallpapery design. So let's grab our second color on the top row, the slightly darker color than our background color, and we are going to be on layer 1, and we are going to find the brush. It is under the textures category and it is called Victorian. So we are going to grab that, have our brush size at about 50%, and I am just going to zoom out a little bit so that I can get the edges of my canvas really nicely, and we are just going to drag this all over the canvas without lifting our brush up, and just make sure to be very thorough and get it all so that there's no gaps in our pattern. But this is the size that we want the pattern to be. So we could always make the brush a little bigger to make this easier, but then the pattern also gets bigger. We would have to change some settings on it to prevent that from happening. So that is it for the wallpaper. So let's go ahead and add our floor and our trim that our fireplace will be sitting on. So let's first add the trim by going to our layer menu, adding a new layer above our wallpaper design. Grab the third color on the top row, grab our selection tool, set it to rectangle with color fill turned on, and then we're going to start at the bottom left outside of our canvas and draw all the way across and up, covering maybe at most a quarter of the canvas at most, maybe even a little bit less than that. We don't need it to be too big. So maybe about right here, and then let that go. Easy enough. And then we'll go to our layer menu, add a new layer above this one. Grab the fourth color on the top row. This will be our carpet or floor color. And then again, selection tool with rectangle and color fill turned on. Do the same thing starting outside, and then we'll cover most of the white rectangle that we just drew, leaving just a little bit on the top to be our trim. So then let that go, and that is our floor. So now we have our floor and our trim and our wall. So now that that's done, we are just going to jump right ahead into our fireplace so that we can get that all laid out before we add all the other little details and stuff. So go to our layer menu, add a new layer on top of all of our layers. Grab the first color on the second row of our color palette, and again, grab our selection tool with rectangle and color fill turned on. So we are going to draw essentially this main square part of our fireplace here. I'm going to start about halfway through my trim, just kind of on the left side here, maybe about halfway between the middle and left side of the screen, so a quarter of the way from the left side of the screen, right in the middle of my trim. And draw up and to the right, drawing approximately a square. We want to leave a good amount of room on the top because we'll need our mantle and our candles and everything. So it doesn't need to be that big. So maybe about like this. Let that go. Okay, and then we will grab our arrow tool and we want to just make sure that snapping is turned on in the bottom left. If you want to make any adjustments to your shape here, you can do so now. Either set it to uniform if you want to just make it a little bit bigger all the way around, or freeform if you want to like change the shape of it at all. But either way, adjust the size if you need to, and then again, make sure snapping's turned on in the bottom left, and then we are just going to drag until we see this vertical yellow line pop up that shows that we are directly in the center of the screen. So that is where we want to be. We don't necessarily want to be on these two yellow lines. The horizontal one means that we're centered top to bottom. That doesn't really matter. If yours is, that's fine, but essentially we just want to make sure we're for sure centered on the vertical line, and then again the bottom of our fireplace is just going to fall kind of in the middle of our trim here. So that is kind of where we want to be for our fireplace. So now we will make the other two pieces, the mantle and the like base of our fireplace. So we will do those on new layers. So let's first do the base at the bottom. So go to our layer menu, add a new layer, grab the second color on the second row, so slightly darker than our fireplace color. Grab the selection tool with rectangle and color fill turned on, and I am just going to start at the bottom of our fireplace here, a little bit out from the left side and a little bit up from the bottom so that we cover the bottom of it. So we're still going to be right about in the middle of our trim, and again just a little bit out from the bottom on the left side. Start drawing, drag it to the right and down until we have about the same distance on the right side and a good amount of room here for our like rectangle shape to be the base. So something about like this, and then let it go. And again, grab the arrow tool, and again you can resize it if you need to, but we mainly just want to again center this on our yellow line here like so, and just make sure the bottom of our fireplace square is covered up by this piece. Okay, now we're going to make the mantle. We're going to do something very similar, but we want to do it on a new layer so we can center it on its own again. So go to our layer menu, add a new layer, same color, grab our selection tool, and now we are going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to go about straight up from the corner of my bottom piece here, go about straight up, and then above my fireplace a little bit. So just kind of right in here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but start about here. Draw a rectangle going across, again kind of off the same distance on the right side as we are on the left, and then covering the top a little bit of our fireplace here. You can make it bigger if you need to like wider from top to bottom if yours is too skinny. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to make mine about like this. So it is a little skinnier than our base, and that's good. We probably want the mantle to be a little skinnier top to bottom than our base is. So again, arrow tool, resize if you need to. I'm going to make mine a little skinnier top to bottom, and then just center it on our yellow line and make sure it's covering the top of our fireplace like so. So that is it for all of our main fireplace pieces. So now we're going to start doing all of the other stuff. We're going to make the brick pattern and our like inlay where our logs and fire will sit. But these are our main pieces here. So now that our top and bottom mantle pieces are centered on our yellow line, we can snap them together to be on the same layer. So I'm going to snap these two layers together on my layer menu. So later on we're going to be doing some shading and stuff, and since they're separate from each other, meaning they're not like overlapping like they are overlapping with this piece, it's okay to put them on the same layer. So this will just, one, save us a layer, and two, it'll be easier when we go to do our shading later to just have them be on the same layer so we don't have to switch back and forth between the different layers. So let's just snap those together for now. They will always stay above our main fireplace square here. So in order to make our brick pattern, the first thing we're going to do is draw the pattern, and then we'll go back and change the color of some of the bricks on our fireplace. So in order to do so, let's first go to our layer menu, find our main fireplace layer now, the square one in the middle, add a layer above it, click on it and set it to a clipping mask. And this is the one that will draw the pattern on. So we are going to draw the pattern in this same color that we have selected right now, the second one on the second row. We are going to grab the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab to draw with. We're going to set the size to about 30%. And we are going to turn on a guide and a assisted drawing feature. So to do that, we're going to go to our gear icon in the top left. Under canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide, and then click edit drawing guide. And so we are already on our 2D grid. That's where we want to be for this. The first thing we want to do is turn on assisted drawing in the bottom right here. And then essentially we just need to kind of resize our grid if necessary. So each brick is going to be 2 squares wide and then 1 square tall. So, just kind of zoom in on your grid here and see if you like about how that would be sized. So I'm going to set mine to be about 90 pixels for my grid size. So you can go ahead and do the same or set it to a different size, whether it be smaller or larger. It does not matter, just make sure assisted drawing is turned on, make sure you can see your grid pretty well, and then go ahead and click done. And then we just also need to make sure that the layer that we're on now says assisted on it. So our clipping mask layer here. If it does not, go ahead and click on it and turn on drawing assist. And now we are good to go. So we have our brush set, our color set, and our grid ready. So the first thing I'm going to do is just draw a straight line on each of these grid marks. So going horizontally. So we're going to draw all the way across for these. I'm just going to start on the outside, on the left side of my fireplace shape here, on one of the grid lines, the closest one to the bottom, and draw all the way across. And as you can see, you can't see the line when we're outside of our shape because of our clipping mask. It only stays within our shape. And then as soon as you start drawing, it latches on to whether you're drawing horizontally or vertically, and it just keeps your pen on that exact same path to make a nice perfectly straight horizontal line. So we're just going to do that for each of the grid lines going horizontally, and just try to stay as close to them as you can. If you get really off on one, just go ahead and undo it and redo it. But you don't have to be perfect, but get as close as you can. Okay, so then when we're done with all of the horizontal lines, like I said before, each of the bricks is going to be 2 squares across. So for our vertical lines, we want to go every 2 squares, and then we're going to alternate with the line above it. So on the bottom here, I'm going to start with a full brick showing, so you can kind of see the line on the very left side here. You can't fully see it, but I'm just going to draw a tiny little line there. And then I'm going to go 2 squares over, draw another line, 2 squares, all the way across. And then again, this very far right side, you can barely see the lines on here, so I'm just going to do the teeniest little bit on the side there where the line would be. And then our next line above this, we're going to go in between. So we're going to go 1 square in and draw a line. And then every 2 squares again, all the way across, so they will always be alternating with the bricks below it. And then again, we'll see just the 1 square on the left side here as well. And then we'll just do the same thing for the next one as we did on our very bottom one. So the teeniest bit on the left side, or whatever yours looks like. Yours might look very different than mine as to where your squares fall. But just do, 2 squares per brick and alternate with the line above it. So whatever that looks like for you. And then if you want to get fancy, you can start doing 2 at a time. So I'm just going up and then down for every other line, keeping the same pattern. Okay, so then eventually you will get all the way done and your drawing will look like this. And now we're going to shut off the grid so we don't have to see all these lines anymore. That's the only time we're going to use that. So we'll just go to our gear icon in the top left and turn off the drawing guide like so. And then now we are going to fill in some different bricks with different colors just to kind of give some variation. And we will do that by going back to our original fireplace layer, the big square. Click on this layer, set it to alpha lock. So that way if we go off the edge, we won't be drawing outside of our shape. So that helps us, again, stay within our shape. So the first color we used was this first color on the second row. The second color we used for our lines. So now these next two colors we're going to alternate between to kind of add some variation to our brick color. So let's first go with the third one on the second row. And we are going to stay with our monoline brush here. And I am just going to find some random bricks and fill them in with this color. It's just slightly lighter than the original color. And you can even pick some that go off the edge like so. But don't do too many because we do want to leave a good amount of room for our next color that we're going to use as well. So we don't want to change too many of them. Okay, so I've changed a good amount of them with that color, so now I will grab the fourth color on the second row, even lighter still, and I will just pick some more random ones to fill in with this one. Okay, so now it should look something like this. And that is it for all of our brick pattern and whatnot. So now we're just going to jump into drawing the little alcove for the fire and the fire itself. So we are first going to add another clipping mask above our brick pattern pattern. So find the brick pattern clipping mask, add a layer above it, click on it and set it to clipping mask also. So it's also clipped to our main fireplace layer. And we are going to click on the N on this layer and drag it up to multiply. We are going to grab the fourth color on the top row, grab our selection tool with rectangle and color fill turned on, start at the bottom here on the left side, leaving maybe 2.5 bricks worth, and we are going to draw a nice little square about this big in the middle of our fireplace and let it go. So now you get a really nice dark area, but you can still kind of see the brick pattern. That's why we have it set to multiply, so we can still see the brick pattern a little bit, but it's like really in shadow. So then again, click our arrow tool, resize it if you need to, but again, make sure snapping's turned on in the bottom left and snap it to the center of our fireplace here. So the biggest thing is we do want to have a good amount of room for like our stockings to hang. So, you know, just kind of leave a good amount of room at the top, but you don't need as much room on the sides. So something about like this. So now we're going to add the logs for the fireplace. So we'll go to our layer menu, we'll add a new layer above our clipping masks. We don't need to turn this one into a clipping mask. The bottom of our logs will be cut off by this rectangle here, which is what we want. Let's go ahead and grab the first log color, which is going to be this 7th color on the second row, this really, really dark brown color. And we're going to grab our selection tool again with rectangle and color fill turned on. And we are going to draw essentially right inside this little area here, a little log shape, a nice long skinny rectangle, not any bigger than, you know, 2/3 or 3/4 of our little opening here. So it's about this long across. Let that go and it'll fill in. And now that our log is in there with this really dark color, I'm realizing the alcove is way too dark as well. So we need to lighten this up just a little bit. So let's go back to our layer menu, find our alcove layer here, this gray square that we made, our second clipping mask with the M. Click the M to open up the menu here, and let's drag the opacity down to maybe 70 to 75%. Somewhere there to lighten it up just a little bit, like so. So now we can see our log a little bit more defined there, so that is good. Okay, now with our log, we're going to add some highlights to it, and then we're going to duplicate it for our second log. So first thing we need to do is find our layer with the log on it, click on it, and set it to alpha lock. Let's grab the 5th color on the second row, a good amount lighter than our base color, and add our first little bit of highlight with that. So we are going to do that by using the soft brush under the airbrushing category. So find that brush. Let's set the size to maybe 7%. I'm going to zoom in here, and essentially the fire is going to be here soon, and we want a highlight on the top middle area of our log that's reflecting off the fire. So I'm just going to start on the top here in the middle, start going kind of back and forth till we reach almost the side, not the whole. We don't want to go all the way to the edge, but you know, almost the side. So then we get this kind of nice curved effect here, where we go a little deeper in the middle and then shallower on the sides. So something kind of like this. And then we're going to grab our orange color, the 8th one on the second row, and this is just going to give a little bit more light in color. So we're just going to go again, same brush, same size, just very lightly in the middle here, right in the middle, not going quite as far as we did with our last color. So just right on the top middle there to add a nice glow with this orangey color. So now your log should look something like this. Okay, and so then now we're going to grab the arrow tool, and we're going to rotate it just a little bit to the left with this green bar. And then we're going to nestle it like down here in the middle right side, like so, with the left side of it just being tucked right behind our rectangle in the front here, just like this. The right side's kind of floating, that's okay. And then we're going to go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this log layer by sliding left and hitting duplicate. Grab the arrow tool. Now the green bar we're going to rotate to the right a bit, and we're going to kind of just reposition it up and to the left a little bit, like so, so that we get two nice logs here at different angles, kind of staggered in there. So now that they're both there, you can reposition some of them. This bottom one I might make a little bit lower and a little bit more to the right. And then I'm going to select both of them and make them a little bit bigger so they take up just a little bit more room in our little alcove here. So on my layer menu, I'm going to select one of them, slide right on the other one to select that one as well. Click my arrow tool with uniform turned on and increase the size a good amount, keeping them like nestled in the middle underneath our rectangle at the bottom here. So they're just a little bit bigger than they were. Okay, and then that is it for our logs. So now we're going to make the actual fire inside of our fireplace. So we are going to do that behind our logs, but we don't want to add another clipping mask. So I am just going to add a layer, drag it below my two logs, right above my other clipping masks, and it'll probably turn into a clipping mask also. So click on it and turn off clipping mask if yours did. So it should just be a normal layer under our two log layers. And we are first going to start with this orange color, the 8th one on the second row. And we are going to switch our brush to make our fire. We are going to switch our brush to the oil painting brush under the painting category. We're going to set the size to about 15%. And we are just going to make some flame shapes. So I'm going to start in the middle here, right behind my logs. And that's why we added a layer behind the log. So I'm going to start here in the middle and just kind of make a little blob, and then I'm going to just on each side kind of work up and down in a pointy motion. Then I'm going to go over and make another bigger pointy curvy kind of shape like this, and then in the middle we'll come together at a point at the top. And then again on the right side and the left side, just kind of getting smaller each way. So we're kind of like almost like a little flower here, but with these nice little pointy areas to create our flames. Go over them a few times if you need to. We want them to be pretty thick. And then I'm just kind of adding some in between too. It doesn't have to be like perfectly distinguished 5 areas. It's just kind of a big flaming blob here. So something kind of like this. So now I'm just going to move on to the yellow here, the 9th one on the second row. And do the same thing in front of this, just a little bit smaller. So we're not going to go all the way up, but we're going to mirror this shape. And again, make it nice and thick so we get a nice amount of yellow here. Like so. And then we're going to do the same thing once more with our last color on the second row, this really light yellow. Again, just right in front, a lot smaller. So that's our fire. And as you can see, it's not very bright and it's not very thick. It's not very colorful. We want it a little bit more colorful. So the oil painting brush is a great brush to get this texture that I like, but it's not very opaque. So we are going to go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of our flame layer here. And there, now we got a nice, thick, bright fire. So that's what we want. We just want 2 layers right on top of each other of this same thing. And then we'll go to our layer menu and snap them together so they're all on one layer. So we just have one big, bright flame layer. And then I do want it to glow a little bit as well. So to do that, we are just going to make sure we're on our flame layer, go to our wand icon here and click bloom. And then we're going to slide this up, and as you can see, like a little light kind of is added to the center here. We don't want it that crazy, but maybe like 30% for our bloom. And then you can also change like the size and stuff. So the lower the size, the closer it is to like the brightest area, the higher it kind of spreads out in between the flames. So I'm going to maybe have my bloom on 30, my size also about 30 to 35. The burn just makes it brighter in the middle. I'm going to have that set also to about 30. The transition is on max. So we have like 30, max 35-30 is what I did. So kind of mess around with it, play with it, see what you like there. And then we will move on. So now the next thing that we're going to do is add some more kind of glow to our fire in the background and inside of our alcove here. So we're going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer, drag it below our flame layer. Again, it will probably turn into a clipping mask. Click on it and turn off clipping mask. So it's just behind there. And we are going to continue with this last color on the second row, this really, really light yellow. But we are going to switch our brush now to the soft brush under the airbrushing category again to add this glow behind. So we are going to set that still at like 7 or 8%. And I'm just going to very lightly kind of follow the edge of my flame here, just to add a little bit of glow all the way around, very, very lightly so it's not too thick. And then I'm going to lower my brush size a little bit to maybe like 4%. And I'm just going to add a little bit more of this, just kind of like in random spots, like little dots almost, to kind of just be like embers coming off of our fire. So just a few of those kind of wherever you can at the top if you can. Okay, so now we have a nice bright fire. And now we do need to add some more glow. So the fire would also put a glow on our fireplace and our, our base here and our mantle up above as well. So we are going to first add the glow to the actual fireplace. So we are going to go to our layer menu, find our original fireplace layer with our brick colors on it, this main one here, add a layer above that. So it automatically sets up to a clipping mask, and we want to drag it between our brick pattern and our dark gray square here. So it should be right in between those. So behind our dark square, above our brick lines. And we're going to switch back to our orange color, the 8th one on the second row. Same soft brush, but let's increase the size to maybe 8%. And I'm just going to go right along the edge here where my dark alcove starts so that we kind of get a glow on the edge of our fireplace here. So that's where we want our glow to be. So I'm just going to go very, very lightly vertically right there to create a nice glow. Across the top as well, right there, and on the right side. And then we're going to grab the darker yellow color, the 9th one on the second row, and we're just going to add the teeniest little bit of that as well. And then we also need a glow down on our big rectangle here and our rectangle up above. And this is, like I said earlier, where it comes in handy that they're on the same layer. So find that layer on your layer menu. It should be at the very top. Click on it, set it to alpha lock. Grab our orange color again, the 8th one on the second row. Set our brush to about 8%. And the first thing we're going to do is add this orangey color on the front middle. So the top middle of our big rectangle at the bottom. And then across the top, bottom, middle of our mantle up here. So that's where the fire would reflect there, just in the top or the bottom middle of that area. Then we will grab the yellow color again, the darker yellow, the 9th one on the second row, and add a teeny bit of that as well, just on the front edge, very, very, very lightly. And then same thing at the top, just a little teeny bit there. And then we're also going to kind of create a shadow. Since there's so much light in the middle, it would create a shadow on the bottom and top of our shapes on the opposite edges of where the light is. So we are going to grab the 6th color on the second row here, and again just kind of focus this now on the bottom corners, bottom middle of this shape here. Just kind of lightly blending back into our main color there. And then same thing on the top corners, top middle of the mantle up here. Again, just kind of lightly fading into our main color there, like so. Okay, and then We would also have a shadow on the sides of our fireplace here. Since there's so much light in the center, it would get like a little darker on the outside area and a little darker under our mantle as well. So we are going to go to our layer menu. So we need to add this as a clipping mask to our brick layer again, but we still want to see the brick's texture. So we are going to add a clipping mask above our brick clipping mask layer. It can be below our orange and yellow layer that we just did a little bit ago, that's fine. But since we still want to see the brick color and the brick texture, we need to set it to multiply again. So click on the end to open up the menu and drag it up to multiply. And then we are going to just grab the fourth color on the top row, this just kind of gray color. And again, same brush at about 8% still. And I'm just going to drag this again very lightly on the edge of my shape here to create a little bit of shadow. Very, very lightly there. Same thing on the left side here. Very lightly to kind of blend it in. And then across the bottom of the mantle as well. A little bit. Okay, that is looking really good. Now we are going to do a little bit more shadows on the outside of our fireplace. So we're going to have some shadows on the left and right side against the wall, and a shadow around the base of our fireplace as well on the floor. So we are going to create a layer above all of our floor layers right under our brick fireplace square layer. So right in there. Click the N and drag it up to multiply again. Same brush, same color, the fourth one on the top row, and same brush at about 8%. And I'm just going to go lightly along the left side of the fireplace here to create a shadow there. And then along the right side as well, very lightly to create a shadow there. Feel free to change the sizes of these brushes if they're not working well for you. And then while we should potentially have like a shadow near our mantle, we won't because we'll have the greenery hanging there. So that will kind of cover up that area. So we just need the shadows on the left and right side here like so. And then we also need a shadow on the ground. So I'm just going to drop the size to maybe 6%. And then I'm going to start on the left side here right under my trim and create a little bit of a shadow going all the way around the base of my fireplace here, like so. Again, just kind of lightly fading it out into the rest of the floor. Okay, so with that done, that completes our entire fireplace. So next we can do the greenery, and then we'll do the stockings and the candles and the rug to kind of finish everything out. So we'll do the greenery next. So let's go to our layer menu, add a new layer on top of all of our layers. We are going to grab the first green color on the bottom row, so the first one on the last row, and the brush that we're going to use is going to be a modified Procreate brush that's already in here. So we are going to find the brush first. So under the artistic category, so it's this Aurora brush, and when you open the brush and you go to the color dynamics, you can see the hue, saturation, lightness, darkness. These are all set to different percentages, and then when you draw with it, it like changes colors. It's like kind of blue, kind of green, lighter, darker, and I don't want that. I want it to be one solid green color, but I do still want to use this brush. So we will go to our brush menu. On this Aurora brush, slide to left and hit duplicate so that we still have our original brush untouched, but we'll use this Aurora 1 with the little Procreate symbol on the top right that shows that it's our duplicate. We'll click on that one to open up the settings. Again, go to the color dynamics and just set all of these to 0. Click done. And then now when we draw with it, you can see it's just one solid green color. It's not changing hues and stuff. So that's what we're looking for. So make that adjustment with that brush, and then we are going to set the size to about 20%. And the first thing we'll do is start on the top left corner and go all the way to the top right corner, just kind of wiggling our brush a little bit to kind of fluff the leaves up. Go back and forth a couple times, but make sure that we still get some nice texture on the edges. If you go back and forth too much, it'll get kind of muddled, and it'll just be like one big blob of color. So we want to see the texture and the little pieces coming off, so only go over it a couple times. And then we'll start on the right side here, and we'll just turn down and cover this whole right edge of the mantle, and then we'll just kind of make a nice little rounded bottom, going back up like so. So it's got a nice rounded corner here, covers the right side, kind of rounded at the bottom like so, again kind of leaving some areas poking off. And then we'll do the same thing on the left side now, cover up that side, round it down, kind of try to make them the same length here at the bottom, like so. So this is the start of our greenery. So now we will go back to our color palette, grab the next color, the second one on the bottom row, the darker green. Same layer, same brush, but we'll drop the size of the brush down to maybe 15% so that we don't make everything too big. So now we're just going to use this darker color and just go in little sections to kind of add some darker green. So I'm just skipping some areas and adding it in others, mostly towards the middle of our little garland here. Then we'll get the next color, the lighter one, the third one on the bottom row. Same brush, same size, and now we'll add some of this lighter color. We can do it over some of the darker color, again just kind of in little sections to add some highlights. And it's okay even if they go off the edge of our garland and make like some new leaves, that's totally fine too. We just want a nice variety of greens here. And then we'll grab the fourth color on the last row, the lightest green of them all, and add this again a little more sparingly. So just in a few little sections, kind of just like tapping around, not really dragging, so that I only get a few little instances of this lighter color. So something kind of like this, and that is it for our garland, the green part anyway. So now we will go through and add some holly to it. So to do that, we are going to just stay on this same layer here, but grab our red color, the fifth one on the bottom row, and switch back to our monoline brush. Now under the calligraphy tab, let's up the size to maybe 60%. And I'm just going to go through and add little bits of holly. So I'm just gonna kind of touch my brush and then maybe work it in a circular motion to make them a little bit bigger. So something about like this, just kind of here and there. I'm not doing like any clusters, just kind of singular ones all the way down. Some towards the middle, some towards the edge. So about like this. Okay, and then next we are going to add our candles on the mantle. So whatever room you have up here will be fine. You can make some shorter candles, longer candles, whatever you have room for. So we're going to add it behind our greenery layer and our mantle layer, just so that we don't end up with any candlesticks poking below our greenery here, but like above our mantle. So behind both of those layers, add a layer. Grab the sixth color on the bottom row, the bright white, and grab our selection tool with rectangle and color fill still turned on. And we are just going to start behind our mantle anywhere here towards the middle and draw a nice skinny vertical rectangle here, leaving enough room at the top for our flame. And then let that go. Okay, so there's our first candle. I might move it more towards the middle. And then we'll go to our layer menu and we'll just keep making a duplicate of this so that they're all the same width and we don't have to keep making new rectangles that are like hopefully the same size. We'll just use the one that we already have. so that they're all the same, but then we'll vary the heights of them. So we'll go to the layer menu, make a duplicate of this rectangle layer, click the arrow tool, and we'll just move it over and down a little bit. Again, this is where it's good to have it behind our mantle so that the bottom of the candlestick would be right here and it would be sticking out if it was above our mantle. If yours end up below your mantle for some reason, like sticking out like down here, that's totally okay if you like the height of it. Just switch your arrow tool selection to freeform and then zoom in here and use this bottom middle blue dot to drag it up. So that way it won't change the width of your candle, just the length of it. So if that is something you need to do, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, I'm not going to make mine quite that short, probably about here. Slide to the left and hit duplicate again to make another taller one. A little closer together so they're kind of staggered. And then maybe another really short one over here. Okay, so this is what I ended up with. So I just kind of spaced them randomly and staggered their heights. And then I'm going to go to my layer menu and snap all 7 of them together when you are satisfied with their spacing and their heights, so that they're all on one layer. And then we will click our arrow tool and I'm just going to kind of move it more towards the center. So I still have snapping turned on, so I still see my vertical yellow line when I'm perfectly in the center, so that is fine if you want to use that or just kind of eyeball it. Okay, and now we will make the flames for these. So to do that, we are just going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer above our candlestick layer, and we're going to do the same thing that we did before with our fireplace flame, just a much smaller version. So let's first grab our orange color, the 8th one on the 2nd row, and let's switch back to our oil paintbrush under the painting category. We will drop the size to maybe 3%, and I'm just going to start on the far left side here, and I'm just going to leave a little space above my candle and start there at the bottom and just kind of make a nice kind of flame shape. Just kind of push pretty hard to get a nice dark orange color, and then we'll just do this all the way across. Kind of have to push for a little bit to kind of get it started, and then it starts flowing a little bit better. Okay, so now we did the orange, so now let's do the yellow, the darker yellow, the 9th one on the 2nd row. And we can drop our brush a little more if we need to, otherwise just try to kind of keep it within the middle. So I'm just going to kind of start in the bottom middle and just add a little bit of yellow to it. I'm not even going to go all the way up through like the tip of my shape. I'm just going to kind of make a little glowing bit at the bottom in this yellow color. And then same thing with our very lightest color, the last one on the 2nd row. Again, you can drop the size even further if you want to like the lower 2 to 1% if you can, but just kind of focus a teeny little orb or blob in the bottom middle with this lighter color. Okay, so then once we went all the way across, we are done with that. So we will add a little bit of glow to them first by doing the bloom thing that we did before. So we will be on this flame layer, click the wand icon and click bloom, And then we'll drag this up to maybe 30% again with our size on 30 and our burn on 35, transition on max. So same settings that we had for our one fire. So when we go back and forth, you can kind of see it just adds a nice glow to our flame that it doesn't have without this effect. So that is nice. So we are going to leave that there. And then again, like I said, we'll add the teeniest little bit of glow in the background also. So let's go ahead and just add a new layer, drag it behind our flame and candlestick layer here. We're going to use this lightest color that we have, the lightest yellow, the last one on the second row. Switch back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category. Drop the size to like 3 or 4%. And I'm just going to very, very lightly make a tiny little glow behind each of my flames in kind of like a circular motion. Okay, so that is it for our garland and our candlesticks. Now we are going to do our stockings, and then we are going to add our little rug at the bottom, and we will be almost done. So let's go ahead and work on our stockings next. So there will be 3 of them, or you can add more if you would like. If you want to do the amount of like members in your family, you can add some, or you can do 2 or 1 or whatever you would like to do. I just ended up with 3, even though I have a husband and 2 animals. I should have 4, but 3 felt better to me. So we ended up with 3, so do whatever you would like. We're going to add them above our mantle below our greenery. So right in here, we are going to grab the bright white color, the 6th one on the last row. We are going to grab the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab again. We're going to use our selection tool first with rectangle and color filter on, and we're first going to make the top of the stocking. So this will be about the size of it. So we'll place it later. So I'm just kind of drawing wherever right now, but right about here, I'll make it about this big, a nice little rectangle like so to be the top of our stocking. Then I'll grab my brush, and with the monoline brush, same color, same layer, and I'm going to kind of first just round the sides a little bit out like so. And then I'm just going to kind of use my brush to kind of follow along across the top in a very like not perfect way. So it's kind of wavy, it's kind of, you know, imperfect, but that just kind of breaks up this like perfect rectangle that we drew to start. So it's a little more natural, like so. So that is the top of our stocking. Now we are going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer, drag it below our stocking top layer here, grab our bright red color, the 7th one on the bottom row, and this is going to be the main part of our stocking. So I'm just going to zoom in here. I'm just going to start on the left side and a little bit from the left side of this top stocking part, and I am just going to draw down and to the left to make our stocking shape. Draw around for the little foot part and back up to meet the other side. Again, a little bit in from the right edge of the top of our stocking. Draw across the top to close the shape, and then fill that in. Very quickly done, but then we can kind of go back and fix it, smooth it out a little bit, make any areas bigger or smaller, kind of reshape it a little if needed. I'm gonna give mine more of like a heel. Okay, and then now they are on separate layers, our top and our base. So if you need to make any adjustments separately, you can. So I'm gonna keep on my red layer here, click the arrow tool. I will set it to freeform and just kind of drag it to the right a little bit to make it a little wider, and then maybe rotate it a teeny bit. It doesn't seem like it's quite right. So maybe more something like this. And then my white part is a little too big as well. So I'm going to switch to that and kind of resize it and place it nicely at the top of my stocking here. Like so. So this will be my stocking shape. So just kind of make some adjustments if you need to. Okay, and then we're going to go to our layer menu and we're going to snap these 2 layers together. So they're all on one layer. So once you're happy with the shape and sizing and stuff, go ahead and snap them together. Click the arrow tool and now we can kind of place them. So we're going to first rotate them to the left a little bit. Again, you can do some more resizing here if you need to. And I'm just going to place them up here with the top part nestled a little bit underneath my greenery so that we don't have to make a hook or anything. So they're just going to be hooked under the greenery there essentially. And then I just resized it nicely so that I can fit 3 across. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, make a duplicate, drag it to the right towards the middle, make another duplicate, and to the left side. Kind of trying to leave the same spacing, so I have quite a bit of space on the left side here. So I'll leave some more spacing and then move my middle one again, so they're kind of all evenly spaced there. If you had a lot but you want them to be this big, you can leave them this big, or you can make them smaller if you'd like. But if you want them to be this big, you could always just kind of like layer them a little bit. So you could kind of stack them all like so, all the way across. And they're going to have different patterns on them, so you can kind of differentiate them. I'll move mine back. Okay, so now that I have them placed, they look great, just red also, but we are going to add some fun patterns to them. So I have mine in order. The bottom one is the left one, the middle one's the middle one, and the top one's the right one. So I'm going to start on the bottom one here. I am going to click on it and set it to alpha lock, and I'm going to grab the white color again, the 6th one on the bottom row. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my custom brushes that you should have downloaded. So I have a star pattern, a zigzag pattern, and a dots pattern. You can also find some other patterns in the textures section on Procreate and the vintage section on Procreate. There's a few different patterns that you could consider using also, or any other patterns that you want to use that you've downloaded from other creators or anything, or that you've made yourself. Go ahead and do that. But we are going to start first on this first one on the left here that we're on. We are going to do the star pattern. So I'm going to tilt my canvas a little bit so the brush follows whatever direction your canvas is tilted. So if you're straight up and down, the pattern will be straight up and down. But if you're tilted, it'll tilt with your canvas. So we're going to tilt it a little bit kind of in the direction of our stocking and just drag this all over it. And even though the stocking top and the red part are all in the same layer, since the stocking top is white and our pattern is white, you can't really tell that it's like going over it. So that's why we can do this all on the same layer here, like so. So this is what our first one looks like. We'll go to our second one now, click on it and set it to alpha lock and grab the zigzag pattern. Again, tilt our canvas a little bit and drag this all over that stocking there. And then go to our third one, click on it, set it to alpha lock, grab our polka dot pattern. And then this one, since the polka dots are kind of laid out in this grid pattern, I'm going to tilt it to the left a little bit instead of the opposite way and lay the dots on that way. So that then when we tilt it back, they look more polka dotty like every other, in that kind of different pattern. So that's the only exception there. But again, you can do no patterns, you can use your own patterns. And then now you could also, if you want to, you could draw names on the stockings. You could add them with text, or you could add them with just an ink brush under the inking category, or a calligraphy brush with like a black color. So that is it for the stockings. So the last thing that we need to do now is add the rug on the ground. So we are going to go to our layer menu, go all the way back down here to our floor layer, add a layer right above it. So our gray floor, like rectangle layer, add a layer right above that. And we're going to grab our darkest red, this last color on the last row, 8th in line. Grab our selection tool again with rectangle and color fill turned on. And we're going to start on the bottom, just a little bit in from the left side here, outside the canvas, and start drawing. Draw a nice strip rectangle across the screen to make our rug, like so. Let it go to fill it in. Click the arrow tool to select it, and first things first, make sure snapping's turned on, and snap it to the center of our screen if you can. Now there's so many things on the screen that it's trying to snap to, but snap it about to the center of the screen if you can. Make sure it goes off the bottom still. Make any adjustments with freeform if you need to. And then to make it look more, angular, like we're looking at it from the front, we are going to click Distort. And we are going to drag each of the bottom corners out a little bit. So this bottom right corner will drag out to the right a little bit. The bottom left corner will drag out to the left a little bit. So this just kind of gives us a different angle on the rug, like so. So set that up, and then we're going to add a little bit of detail to the rug as well. So we'll go to our layer menu, add a new layer above it, grab the third color on the top row, the kind of more like creamy white colors. And then we are going to grab the dry ink brush under the inking category so that we have a nice texture. We'll set this to about 20%. And the first thing I'm going to do is draw the tassels on each side. So I'll go to this right side here, right where the corner is, make a little circle, go down a little bit, make another circle, go down a bit, make another circle. So I kind of have 3 here, and then I'll make some little tassels coming off them. If you need to adjust your brush size down a little, go ahead and do so. It's kind of thick to be doing this, but that's okay. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So make one on the corner, one in the middle, one at the bottom, almost going off the screen, and then a couple tassels coming from them. And then we'll go back to our right side here. So now we have our tassels. Now we're going to draw 2 lines that are like just little stripes on the rug here, 2 little like embroidery lines. So I'll start here, make one down kind of at the same angle as our rug is going, so a little bit like tilted. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Again, a little bit tilted, like so. Then we'll do the same thing in the middle. So we'll go to the middle, draw 2 that are pretty much straight up and down. Okay, those look pretty good. They look centered. If yours aren't centered, you can always adjust them. So even though this is all in the same layer, you can use your selection tool, set it to freehand with color fill turned off, and you can select like just around these ones and then move them around if you need to. So, and you can turn snapping off if it's bugging you while you're trying to move anything around. So then in the middle of each of these sections here, I'm going to make a little X. So I'm going to make a line down like this, and then a line down like that. And then I'll do the same thing in the middle of these 2 sections, like so. Then for our rug, we need a little bit of a glow on it as well, since it is in front of the fireplace. So we'll go to our layer menu. On this base rug layer, the red rectangle, find that layer, click on it, turn on alpha lock. We're going to grab the lightest yellow color, the last one on the second row, and we are going to switch back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category. We're going to have the size set at about 8%. And I'm just going to tilt my canvas a little bit so that I can get this far top edge here, just very, very lightly in the middle of the rug, like so, to give it a little bit of a glow. Nothing too crazy because it's further away than like our base of our fireplace, so just the teeniest little bit of a glow there. Okay, and then with that, that is our final step. So that completes our drawing today. So I hope you had fun. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more tutorials from me in the future. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it and then tag me so that I can check it out. While you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.